Hey, you're listening to the Smoke Meat Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Smoke Meat is sponsored by Joe's Underground in Augusta, Georgia, at the corner of 8th and Broad. Right now, they're doing what they have to do, and they're closed down for the pandemic. Being responsible citizens, doing the right thing right now, trying not to spread this thing. They do have t-shirts and some other swag on their Facebook page for sale. Go check them out, Joe's Underground. It's a great place. Jeremy and the staff, wonderful people. I'm so happy that they have decided to have faith in this podcast and to go on ahead and sponsor it for me. They've been here since the beginning, and they'll be here till the end. Today's guest, I had such an awesome conversation with Robert Wuhl. Was in one of the first R-rated movies I ever saw, Hollywood Nights. Has been in so many great things, Blaze, Cobb, been in Batman, went for 7 seasons on HBO with his own show, Arli. We talked about a lot of different things, had a great time. So here we go, we're going to kick this off with Robert Wuhl on Smoked Meat. Hey everybody, you're listening to the Smoked Meat Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Today we've got a very special guest. We've got Mr. Robert Wuhl. You may remember him from Durham, from Batman, from his show Arli, which was on HBO for, was it 7 years?
7 seasons, yes.
Yeah, 7 seasons, yeah. Yeah, so without further ado, how are you today, Robert?
I'm fine. Now, this is coming from Atlanta, correct?
Yeah.
One of the great comedy clubs that I was privileged to work more than a few times back in the day, the Punchline in Sandy Springs. And I had the best time there. The owners were great. That's a career. I think it's still around. I don't know if the actual same club is around, but that was one of the best comedy clubs in the country. I remember I was in there one time and Robin Williams showed up, and he was in town. And I had a great time in Atlanta. I've always liked Atlanta a lot. Good food. The Buckhead Diner always had good food there. I would go there. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Are you from Atlanta originally?
I'm actually from a small town just out of Augusta called Thompson, and we moved up here about 4 years ago.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. You enjoying it?
I am. It's taken a lot of getting used to. My old home, my driveway was 200 feet short of half a mile, and here I can hit my neighbor's house with a rock.
Yeah.
So
that's a different. How big was the town you came from?
It's pretty small. I'd say about 25,000 people.
Okay, well that's not tiny, but that's it's small. But you're moving to Atlanta. That's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, how did you get involved with the podcast?
Well, I've been a stand-up for almost 30 years. Just kind of did it as a hobby. Never really made it big, but I've always had fun with it. And I'm a people person. Back in the day, I did a little bit of radio, and I got froggy one day and said, I think I want to do a podcast. And I talked to a friend of mine who owned a bar in Augusta, and he said, well, I'll sponsor you. And I made him a really great deal. He's on every one of my podcasts that I do, a place called Joe's Underground in Augusta. Do a lot of good comedy there. It's a great little club. And I've just kind of had fun with it.
Now, you grew up in Augusta. Now, a couple of times I was in Atlanta, and I'm drawing a blank for his name. He runs the East Lake Celebrity Classic. I'm drawing. Here comes senior moment. Anyway, but he ran that thing, and so I got to talk with the pros who were. It was Stuart Sink was one of the sponsors, and we were talking about. Naturally, when you talk about when you're in Atlanta, you mentioned the Masters, and they told me, and I want to hear the stories about this. Something I never thought of. They said, the Masters is once you get in, it's very low cost. Once you're in there, the sandwiches are cheap. Everything is everything. The problem is that there's no hotels around there. And that month, as they should, I guess, the prices go from $80 a night to about $600 a night. That's their season. He goes, it's not, you can get there. It's just, you got to find a place to stay.
Exactly. I have friends who actually rent their houses out during Masters Week. And they pay a lot of bills. They do vacations. Just
sure.
Anywhere with the money they do that.
Now, do they rent it out to corporations, to individuals, to the golfers? The golfers' families? Who do they rent it out to?
A little bit of everybody. There's places in Augusta where you can go to look for them. Had a friend who actually rented a house out to Tiger Woods one year.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Tiger Woods is supposed to be notoriously cheap. What did he pay?
I don't know. I don't know, but my friend, he's cheap, but whenever somebody's giving him money, he wants as much as he can get. So I imagine that was a haggling session for the books right there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
But the neat thing about Augusta during Masters Week is you can make money doing anything. People pay for everything.
Such as?
Well, I had a friend who don't know how much you know about guns, but he had a little 25 automatic. I mean, this thing would fit in the palm of his hand, and if you get shot with it, it's pretty much going to be like popping a zit. And there was this bar. They had an off-duty deputy working the door who would, do whatever. And this guy made $30 to walk people from the bar to their car with that little pistol. You're walking maybe 300 feet, $30, boom. And a deputy standing right there that'll do it for free. But people pay for anything during Masters Week.
Well, that's interesting. Well, these are obviously not the locals who are paying for this thing. These are the people coming in from out of town. These are the tourists.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, do you play golf? Have you ever played on Augusta?
I've never played on Augusta. My dad did years and years and years ago, back in the 70s. My golf game, if I walked out onto the course in Augusta, they would probably shoot me on sight. People ask me what my handicap is. I just tell them it's my game.
Right, right. I tell you a golf story. Years ago, this is about around 2000. The HBO, when I was doing the HBO series, the Arli series, they would always have this junket for their cable operators. All the operators. They would bring them all out to a special resort, and thank them. It's this big schmooze lobbying thing.
Oh yeah.
And it's always on the cuff. This is what HBO spent money on. They wanted to make nice, and they always did it first. Deluxe class. So we were all. Some of the talent was there to shake hands, and we were flown out in Los Angeles on what used to be the old MGM Grand plane, which was really cool. It was a big jet, that used to just garner celebrities around and businessmen. It only had about maybe 20 people on the flight, 25, had great food on board. But they rented it out, they chartered the jet, and they took a bunch of us to the Big Island on Hawaii. And my wife didn't want to go, so I brought a buddy of mine. So we're there, and I said to him, this goes back to the golf, I said, because I play, and I said, hey, listen, they got a Jack Nicklaus designed golf course here. Let's go. You want to play golf? HBO was paying for it. And he says, I've never been on a golf course in my life. I said, now's the time. HBO is paying for it.
Yeah.
So, because golf can get pricey in Hawaii, believe me, at these resorts. So, because we had to rent clubs, we had to do everything. So we get to the first hole, and he's loading up the courts and loading up the, he's trying to figure out how to, just how to, where the golf tee goes. He don't know nothing. He's never been on a golf course. However, I see somebody I recognize coming up 18th fairway in the cart. And this guy has got, he's wearing, Bermuda shorts with a loud, Hawaiian shirt. He's playing by himself. And I reckon, he comes up, he plays 18, and he's got wearing this outfit, a crazy outfit, and he sees me and goes, Robert. He goes, I want to tell you, your Arli show is so stupid, it's funny. I said, thanks, Jack. I go, Jerry Del Sol, Jack Nicklaus, Jerry Del Sol. Now, what are the odds that this is the first time this guy, my friend, has ever been on a golf course? What are the odds he meets the greatest golfer in the history of mankind? That's like going to a Little League game and you meet Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds on that?
And then Jack Nicklaus watching him take his first shot.
Where do you go from there? And he didn't recognize him at all. He said he looked old. Well, yeah, he was wearing, you don't see Jack Nicklaus wearing a Hawaiian shirt and Bermuda shorts, and that didn't happen. So I always remember when I hear of stories about meeting people, I said, yeah, that's a pretty good one right there.
Yeah, I can dig that one. That I can just imagine the pressure on this poor guy. He hadn't figured out Jack Nicklaus yet, but if I were hitting my very first golf shot ever, and all of a sudden Jack Nicklaus walks up on his own course and wants to watch,
No, he didn't watch. We was before we even got to the first tee.
Oh, okay. That's right. It was coming off 18.
He was coming into the clubhouse. We were leaving the clubhouse.
Oh, okay. Man,
but I mean, you just met Jack Nicklaus.
That is awesome.
Really? Okay.
And the cool part about Augusta, during that week, you see everybody. I mean,
sure.
And they go everywhere. It don't matter if it's, you're liable to see whoever sitting in Waffle House.
Yes, I imagine so. Yes.
But yeah.
We shot, when we did Cobb, we shot in Athens, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't shoot anything in Augusta or even Atlanta, I don't remember. But because we went to Athens, Georgia, and then we went to Royston, Georgia, because that was the birthplace home of Ty Cobb.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had a good time down there. It's funny. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to school in Texas. And I tell people, certain times cliches become cliches for a reason.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, when I go to the South, I talk about Southern hospitality, and there's usually a great deal of manners. And I say that's real. That's real. You feel it when you're down there. I mean, unless you're not looking, but you feel it overall. There's a gentleman. There is. Each part of the country is different. And rather than talk about, what separates us, it's rather what do we like about each part? And that's one of the things that I've always liked about the South is I do like the hospitality factor and the manners.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, and I hadn't been all over the country, but the places I've been, I'm like you. I look at differences in people, but I also look at what's the same. And
yes,
it's just kind of I don't know anywhere else in the country, but it's kind of the way we're raised. If I had grown up not saying yes ma'am, no sir, yes sir, I would have known it really quick.
Yeah, my dad was in the military. I'd been in the military in World War II. I would have known that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
Dad was Korean, Vietnam. So, oh yeah. But you're talking about Cobb. When my phone rang, I had to hit pause on it. Yep, I was actually sitting here watching Cobb on my tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all were walking up to or actually inside of his crypt. I've seen the crypt before. I used to work or live in Athens and actually took some patients up to Royston. I'm a paramedic.
Okay.
But yeah, but I hadn't watched that movie in so long, and I got the email. I said, man, I ain't watched it. I'm going to find it. And I actually bought it off of Comcast.
Oh, well, Comcast, I'm good. Comcast is making some money off of this podcast. I'm not.
Oh, man, oh, man. Don't feel bad. I'm not either.
So smoked meat. Talk to me about smoked meat. Is that a particular favorite of yours? Is it because I have to tell you, that's not barbecue. I'm there. Mm-hmm. Smoked meat, I'm not as much there with. I'm not with exceptions.
Yeah.
With exceptions. With rare exceptions, sometimes you can get, but I'm not I've never been a huge smoked meat fan. Maybe perhaps a taste, mm-hmm. whatever. Now barbecue, like I said, I'm all over.
Oh yeah.
I'm always, but I've never been. What is it that? And I went to school in Texas. Mm-hmm. So, what is it? Are you an excellent at smoked meat, or is it a euphemism for the show, or what is it?
Well, here's the story behind that. I've May 30th. I will have been a paramedic for 30 years. And
every time you came in at somebody, you had to fire a fireman, and they asked how the guy was doing inside. He'd say he smoked meat. No. Okay.
About 5 years ago, I actually had 2 strokes while I was on the ambulance. And
you did?
Yeah, I
you
did.
Personally?
Yes, me personally. While I was on the truck working.
How did that make the patient feel?
Well, luckily, we didn't have one. I turned into him.
Boy, you're not the paramedic I want coming for me. Let me know where you're working. Give me your schedule. I want to have your schedule.
You're okay till I start stuttering. Then it's time to start, okay, let's change places. You get on the stretcher. But I had a friend who loves to hunt, which I hunt, but everything I hunt, if I'm going to kill it, I'm going to eat everything on it. I'm not going to, okay. I'm not a trophy guy.
Right.
And he loves to hunt, but he don't like wild meat. And he had a lot of deer and a lot of hogs on his property, and he would kill them, and he'd call me and my friend and say, y'all come get it, you can have it. Well, one, I'm out of work. Two, have to have something to do, so we'd go get them, and I learned to process meat that way because I'm also notoriously cheap. I'm not going to pay somebody to do something I can do. And I started learning how to make different sausages and learning how to smoke different things. I do a venison pastrami that is amazing in the smoker. And just that kind of has stuck with me through the years. And that's kind of where it came from.
Well, that's an interesting story. Did you ever give any thought to the theory if you didn't eat so much meat, you might not have had strokes?
Hey, sometimes you got to make sacrifices. I'm back on an ambulance. The strokes were worth it. Like Red Fox said, I don't drink, do drugs, or none of that. I'd feel stupid laying on my deathbed dying of nothing.
Yeah, I guess I suppose so.
But I actually.
Do you have a brother? Well, do you have a favorite dish that you have? What is your? First one, let me go this way.
Mm-hmm.
What is your death row meal?
My death row meal. Now, I actually have two of them.
Okay.
The first one, I actually tell this one on stage, is a Popeye's biscuit with no drink. That way it'll go on ahead and choke me and kill me. That way the state doesn't get the pleasure of doing it. But I actually love...
That's one route. Okay, what's the other one?
I love brisket. Good slow smoked brisket. Nothing like it. I usually do a coffee rub on them.
Uh-huh.
And I've actually smoked cabbage before.
Cabbage?
That is really good. You take the core out of it. And of course you put butter in the middle of it. And you put whatever seasoning you want on there and wrap it in foil and put it in a smoker with little holes in the foil for about 3 hours. And it turns out so great.
Yeah, I can imagine. That sounds tasty.
But yeah, that's kind of my death row meal there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And being from Texas, I'm sure you are well familiar with brisket.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Northeast, which is also big brisket country there too. Not as much barbecue. It's a different type of thing. It's more pot roasty.
Yeah.
I believe it or not, am not a big brisket fan, with rare exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in Oklahoma City and I can go to Oklahoma Joe's or Gates Barbecue or Arthur Bryant's,
mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Oh yeah.
But I'd rather have ribs. If I'm going to eat, I'd rather have ribs than brisket.
Oh,
just
man.
Me. That's just me.
If you ever get down to Atlanta to film anything when all this stuff's over, keep this number, give me a call. I'll make you turn anybody else's ribs down.
Oh, I hope so.
Yep.
I'd love that. I do love ribs. I don't eat much meat anymore, but I start making exceptions for. See, that's the thing. It's like when you go out, it's like unless like people go out to have a steak. See, I learned that at an early age. My dad was really into food stuff, and he said you're better off not going to restaurants for steak for the most part, unless it's a really good steakhouse.
Yeah.
He says it's worth it because that's what they do. Don't go to, that's what they have to live on. But, again, it depends on your yen that evening and stuff. No, but, if I'm down there, I'll definitely take you up on it.
Yeah, like I say, keep his number, man. I love to cook. But, yeah, the steak thing, I'm with your dad on that one. We actually did takeout for my daughter's birthday. She wanted to do takeout from one of the restaurants down here. And
right.
I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to order a ribeye. I want a steak. And this thing, we got it to the house, and oh, man, it was horrible. It was almost boiled, it looked like.
Oh, it's too bad.
And I was like, no, this is not going to work. I wound up just fixing something out of the refrigerator for myself, but they killing me. Anybody that tears up a ribeye, just deep, dark place in hell for them.
Hey, is there any kind, it's funny, you said that the guys were hunting and they didn't want the deers and stuff like that. Is there any kind of, hunting that you don't do or beats that you won't eat or any organ stuff? My wife likes organ meat. She really does. You know where you get a lot of it? When you go to Europe. Mm-hmm. Europe, you get a lot of organs. You'll see brains and you'll see, a heart, and you'll get a lot of organ meat that of course, kidneys all over. They used a whole animal, believe me.
Yeah.
But nobody thinks too much about it. That's more European stuff. My wife, when she goes out to Europe, she generally eats more organ meat. I noticed that.
I mean, organ meat's good. When we get a deer, if the heart's intact, we'll either pickle or smoke the deer heart. And a smoked deer heart, if you clean it really good, get all the blood out of it, and
You're not. I want to make sure I got this right. You're
yeah,
not calling me Deer Heart, are you?
I am not calling you deer heart.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. I just want to make sure for the audience that they're not, not picking it up properly.
And now you stuff it with garlic and put a little seasoning on the outside of it and put it in the smoker and slice it thin. It is so awesome.
Now, see, I've been doing here in LA. I've been doing a lot of grilling
Mm-hmm.
the last because I'm here, and it's like something to do.
Yeah.
So, and I just have an old-fashioned Weber, charcoal grill. It's not gas. It's old-fashioned style.
That's what I use right now.
Okay, that's it. Now, when you're cooking chicken,
Yeah.
what's your tell me the smoked meat, or not the smoked meat? Tell me your recipe.
All right. Now if I'm cooking chicken, if I'm grilling it, or just sauteing it in a pan, either way.
Grilling.
What I'll put on it as a rub is take equal parts of regular chili powder, not real hot, just plain chili powder.
Gotcha.
And country time lemonade mix.
Country time lemonade mix. Now,
Yes.
and that is for what, sugar?
Yeah, the sugar in the lemonade mix actually caramelizes while you're cooking it. And you get that little bit of sweet, you get the tart from the lemon, and you get the little bit of spice from the chili powder.
Lemonade mix.
Yep.
Let me
Lemonade
check.
mix.
I'm going to try this, but I got to check my schedule because I want to make sure when I have the stroke that I'm close to a hospital. It's a lemonade mix. My God, I haven't had a lemonade. Well, I'm diabetic, so it's like don't go by me.
Yeah.
But I can understand it. I can understand it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually had someone tell me about that a while back, and I tried it.
Now,
Man, it's
and how long
wonderful.
do you grill for?
I usually, with chicken and like pork chops, stuff like that,
Yeah.
I'll cook it kind of fast because, when you cook stuff slow, you're trying to render the fat out, and chicken and pork chops usually don't have much fat at all. So I'll get it up to about 165 degrees just because that's where you get chicken.
Yeah.
Raw
Yeah.
chicken will kill you.
Yeah.
And
I want to ask you: do you do the same seasoning on your pork chops, or are they different?
I do the same on those. It's good for chicken and pork.
Okay.
But I've got a lot of different rub recipes. I'll actually send them to you.
Okay.
But
Appreciate it.
But yeah, I mean, with chicken, I just keep a good eye on it, and I'll actually take it off a little bit before it gets to 165 because it keeps cooking.
That's correct. Most
And
people don't know that. Yes.
yeah, and if you take it off too late, it just dries out and it's miserable.
Do you eat fish?
I eat fish. I love fish.
Yeah. What's your favorite fish?
My favorite fish, I can't find it around here a lot, is turbot. I love it.
Okay.
And catfish.
Good catfish is great.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't get much of that out here.
Oh,
When if I'm working or vacationing in the South, that's one of the things you order. I mean, that's catfish catfish and crawfish for that matter.
Yeah. Do you go fishing?
Fire. No, I'm not a big no. I'm not a big water person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the beach. I don't like sand. I don't like any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate the beauty of it. Well, I'm just not. That's never been. I never liked the Beach Boys.
Oh man.
Well, I got to take that back. I have to say, I do like the Beach Boys. I respected the Beach Boys. I grew up with them.
Yeah.
It wasn't to me because I'm from the East Coast. The Beach Boys, that whole L.A. blonde hair, blue-eyed surfer dude thing, could not have been more foreign to me. So I much preferred like a little bit more like the Four Seasons or the Rascals.
Yeah.
More East Coast. But I like, when you hear something like Pet Sounds, you can't deny the greatness.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Brian Wilson would just to walk around in that mine for a few minutes. You would probably definitely come out a changed person.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, that would be.
I'd be again sand. He's living in a sandbox. I'll find some other. I'll find another way to go.
Yeah, yeah. But now my land near Thompson, we've got a pond out there that is just stocked greatly with catfish.
Oh, see, I'd like that. See, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And you cook them up right away?
Yeah. I actually had a friend of mine brought his girlfriend out there, and we were fishing, and she said, "I've never had catfish." And we caught one, and it actually took it up to my cook shack. I heated up my flat top while he was filleting the fish, and as soon as he filleted it, I put it on the flat top and did it with lemon pepper, and it was just the most fresh fish you'd ever had, and it was so good.
Yeah, that happened to me. You know what happened to me like that? Well, there's nothing like it. I mean, when something like that happens, there is no taste. I was up doing a charity thing in, what was it, Windsor, is that Windsor? Victoria, Canada, which is right outside Vancouver, Victoria. It's a little island in the, I guess that British Columbia out there, whatever. There was a charity thing, and one of the events of the weekend was this guy had his own private like little island or something like that, or his private whatever, and he took us to his place. We had skeet shooting there, and he actually caught the salmon from up there, from the fresh salmon.
Oh man.
He caught it right then and there and barbecued it right then and there. To this day, I have never tasted anything like that before in my life. It's before or since. It was so fresh. I mean, you're talking about where the best salmon in the world comes from just about anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're getting it, 10 minutes after it was, in the ocean or in the bay, whatever. And it was so good. Boy, I keep reaching for that now. I'm never going to taste it again unless I go up there. And even then, I probably wouldn't get it like that.
Oh, man. But I tell you, a good thing for fish, I actually learned this working at a country club there in the kitchen, is we would take peaches and puree them and take an equal part of cream and put in the peach puree, put it on the heat and reduce it down by about half and put just a little bit of red pepper flake in it, just enough to give it a little bit more flavor. And that is the most amazing sauce for fish.
Well, that sounds pretty sweet, That does sound sweet.
Yeah. Not really great for the diabetic, but hey.
No, nothing we make is. I'm going to do the ribs regardless. But, the ribs, I got to go for. Well, I like ribs. I like beef ribs and I like pork ribs. I love when I go to a Chinese restaurant. I love spare ribs. And there's nothing more full of sugar than that.
Well, I'll tell you one of my favorite rib things is when I kill a deer. A lot of people won't use the ribs because there's very little meat on them. But I'll take the time to trim that little thin pieces of meat out from between those ribs, and I'll cook some eggs for breakfast in the morning and drop that in with them and let it cook with the eggs. No, it is so amazing.
Wow, you got a lot of time.
Oh man, I do.
You got a lot of time.
I do. Whenever I've got to butcher something, like I say, I respect the animal, man. It gave its life for me. I'm using everything on it.
Yeah, well, okay, that's definitely a point of view for sure.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm sure the animal appreciates it. Do you have dogs?
I do. I do. I've got a 19-year-old Jack Russell and a 17-year-old toy poodle.
I just lost my two kids, and one was 16 and one was 17. This is within the last 9 months, the two of them. So it's there's nothing. I'm a big dog person. I like my wife. When I first met her, she judged people on two things: do they like dogs, and do they tip?
Yeah.
She says I judge people on those two.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not a bad first date. I said that's not so bad, mind-wise. I tend to agree with that. I think those are two attributes that to start with. Those are two good ones.
Yeah.
Those are two. Do they like dogs and do they tip?
Yeah.
It tells you something about empathy. Anyway, I got a couple of more minutes. Anything else you want to talk to me about?
Well, let me see here. I obviously went through IMDb and all that because I've seen you in so much stuff. I mean, I've been a fan since Hollywood Nights. That's actually the first R-rated movie I ever saw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was looking through here. I'm like, man, I don't even know where to start on this because, I mean, you've been in so much stuff, And Arliss, I actually got HBO because of Arliss.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're streaming it now. Here's something to binge watch. It's like people should binge Arliss. All 7 seasons are on HBO Now or HBO Go and on demand and stuff. And they're worthwhile. The show continues. It got better and better.
Yeah.
The show, a lot of shows start out real hot and get worse. We went the other way. We got better and better, and our ratings went up for 7 straight years.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great show. Like I said, that's the whole reason why I got HBO when I got it. was because of Arliss. And now that I know it's on HBO Go, I'm probably going to have to get HBO again.
Okay.
I'm driving my wife crazy.
It's worth seeing. Arliss holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, Arliss, especially when we were doing so many social issue stories that now everybody says, wow, this was 20 years ago you were talking about this? I said, yeah. You know, so we did a lot of stuff on issues, you know, but still it was always funny. Yeah. The show was always, it had to be funny and entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, if you had some other stories and drama, that's fine, but be sure it's entertaining.
Yeah, most definitely, you know, and I like I say, just I hate to fanboy out on people because, I mean, everybody does that. But I've just seen so much of your stuff over the years that, I mean, it's funny, you've got different characters, but they all boil down to they're you, it seems like. You know, they've all got that little bit of you in there, what I perceive as you anyway, because they've got that little common element.
Well, I would think with most actors, I would say most, there's always something of them in there, I would think. Some more than others. I mean, I don't know how wide my range is. I mean, we're not talking Daniel Day-Lewis here.
Yeah.
But I would agree with what you said. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny. I've got a YouTube channel that I've got characters that I do on, and each one of them, you know, I've actually thought about trying to do a one-man show with them because each one of them is so different. But when I thought about writing a screenplay about them, and the thing that stopped me is the mechanics of writing. I'm lazy when I'm doing that. And what it boils down to is each one of them is actually a little piece of me. And,
well, that would make sense.
And the one that I'm kind of ashamed of him being a piece of me is the clown. He is, oh man.
Well, you should do it.
But yeah, I want to, and I need to sit down and actually just start writing it. So I think once I sit down and start the mechanics of it, it'll just come out.
Well, then you should do that. Force yourself to do it. What do they say? Talent is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
I need to start perspiring then. Most definitely.
There you go. Okay, I've got to kind of run out of here now. We've got about we did a half an hour, so that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. I appreciate any time you can give me. This has been awesome. And you know you're welcome back anytime.
I will. And if I am in Atlanta, I'm going to hold you up to that rib thing.
Hey, I will have them. They'll be ready for you, brother.
Okay, thanks. All the best to you, Brad.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. That was a great Robert Wuhl. We had a great time talking today. Going to post this thing and appreciate it.